America is talking about another war on drugs. This time it's international because they're blowing Venezuelan fishing boats out the water with drones and then bragging about, quote, killing people on TV. This nonsense is coming to you from the minds of people who brought us such hits as The War on Terror and Project 2025. So obviously this is huge cause for concern. What does Canada have to do with it? Well, maybe not much, maybe more than we're being told. Either way, I'm not hearing a whole lot about this from our leaders. Is it not weird that right here on our continent, people are getting blown out the water with no due process? Trump and his goons all come up with this justification like, well, they were bringing drugs to America. First of all, we've seen the size of these boats. Elon Musk had more in his system when he was at the Trump rallies, okay? And also, what about the police? What about actual police boats, which you have, which can go out there, apprehend these people with ease, and then question them? No? You just want to test out your fun drones like you're playing an Xbox game and blow people up? And now we're finding out that these people were probably just fishermen and some of them were actually Colombian and not Venezuelan at all? That's insane. What's even more insane is that when you think about where drugs come into America from, Venezuela is right around where Canada's at, in that not a lot's coming from us. But they're being targeted for a war on drugs. Mexico brings in more drugs. Why aren't you targeting the people who do the drugs? You know, we all saw Wolf of Wall Street, and that was based on some real shit. Why aren't you at Wall Street asking all these assholes where they're getting the lines that they're doing the drugs with from? No, you just want to blow up fishing boats and then go on TV and talk about, if we have enemies out there, we're going to kill them. What? It is weird for a world leader to speak like that. And they are normalizing this nonsense by repeating it over and over again. This is what Trump does. He says outlandish shit over and over and over again until it's normal because he's doing new outlandish shit and we can't really pay attention to that stuff anymore. I mean, this is the guy who said grab him by the and we just didn't even deal with it. What happened to the guy who tried to kill him supposedly? Where'd that guy go? Like, we're just never dealing with anything because he's always doing something new. You're talking about Jeffrey Epstein, then he's taking a $400 million fucking plane, then he's launching a crypto scam, then his wife is launching a crypto scam, then he's like flip-flopping on Palestinian peace, he's setting people up for peace meetings and then having them killed and then pretending like, oh gosh golly, I don't know how that happened. This man is a menace to society. And the Canadian government isn't calling it out. Why not? We're over there straight up kissing his ass and he is doing terrorism right in our part of the world. What kind of message does this send? And then the Nobel Peace Prize Committee gives the Peace Prize award. Let me just get this woman's name right. Maria Corina Machado. This woman, if you haven't heard her name, is the opposition leader who lives in hiding in Venezuela. She's the opposition leader to Maduro, who they are trying to openly overthrow. And this is what the shipping boat thing is about. And the reason Canada isn't saying anything, I suspect, is because we're going to help them with another coup. Because that's what Canada does all the time. If you need some sort of historical reference, look up our involvement in the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this woman is in hiding, wants to overthrow Maduro, and just to give you a little glimpse into her character, because this is not some sort of advertisement for Maduro. I'm not trying to say he's a great guy. I'm saying it's none of our business who's in charge where, and we should not be overthrowing governments because I don't like Doug Ford. A lot of y'all don't like Mark Carney. Millions of you didn't like Justin Trudeau. That would not be an excuse for a foreign country to come and overthrow him. But that's what's happening here. So she's calling, just to give you a taste of who this woman is, she's openly asked Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel, a man who's currently committing a genocide, to come on over to Venezuela and help her overthrow the government. What? She dedicated her Peace Prize to Donald Trump in the hopes that you know, he'll help her overthrow the government. And it looks like it's working. But she's not the only one. There's this man named Marco Rubio who has made himself, who has climbed the ladder in the most spectacular way. He is now the United States Secretary of State. And what I'm learning about this guy, in addition to that he's a piece of shit who's an absolute liar because he ran for president and absolutely smeared Donald Trump left and right, and now he's his lackey. But another thing I'm learning about him is that he comes from this like Floridian, Latin American, living in Florida cult, okay? They are, from what I can understand, the Israel of Latin America, the Zionists of Latin America, shall I say. They have a deep desire to overthrow governments in their home countries. He's from Cuba. He wants to overthrow the Cuban government, and he sees Venezuela as a way towards that. So they've been trying, Rubio and his people have been trying to get Donald Trump involved with this Venezuela shit. And it looks like the way they got him involved is by saying that there's drugs coming in or whatever. Maybe they showed him a cool video of what it looks like when a drone blows something out of the water. I don't know. But now this guy's all on board. And I'm looking at this. I'm looking at what's happening. I'm thinking, what kind of world are we living in now? America's once again openly talking about overthrowing a government. They're doing an even worse job than they did on the war on terror, because they're just going out and talking about, I'm going to kill people. Bush had the decency, and I can't even believe I'm saying that, Bush had the decency to try to peddle a lie last time he went and fought a war for Israel. And don't think Israel isn't involved here either, because you have leaders over there talking about, oh, if you come and help us overthrow Maduro, we'll move the Venezuelan embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. So just to be clear, they are telling America, as a gift for helping me overthrow my government, I will put the Venezuelan embassy in Jerusalem. I'll move it from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. If you're wondering why that's an offer, why that's a big deal, Jerusalem, or East Jerusalem, is supposed to be the capital of Palestine, like in the partition plan. 1967 borders with East Jerusalem, or Jerusalem as their capital. But in a daring move that Israel has been trying to get president after president after president to do, Donald Trump took the American embassy out of Tel Aviv and moved it to Jerusalem. In the past, America was trying to stay out of that, say, hey, we haven't really figured out the border situation and, let's just leave it where it is. But Donald Trump just moved it over, basically saying, I am all for you taking over this whole area. Because what Palestine, what West Bank? We'll put the Israeli embassy of the American embassy in Israel right here. And now Venezuela's like, yeah, we'll do that too. Why is that a gift to the States? What Israel is doing while constantly crying anti-Semitism is displaying how much of a grip they have on American politicians. That you have foreign governments now talking about what they'll do for Israel as a way to convince America to do something for them. I mean, what else is there to even think? I cannot imagine what it's like to be just a regular Jewish person who's not involved in Zionism, who doesn't subscribe to that ideology, just watching all of this apparently be done in your name. You're not safe anywhere but Israel. Really? The countries you live in now don't have a police force, a military? They're incapable of protecting their citizens, of which you are a part? It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. We are living in scary times. And the Canadian government not doing anything is not just irresponsible, it's telling. Because I believe they are doing stuff. Let's take a look at what Mark Carney is putting out for his budget. Of course, the budget's not out yet, but parts of it are. And the parts that are really effing telling. According to the CBC's reporting, there's $9 billion in defense to be spent by March. $9 billion. When you compare that to some of the other figures that have been put out, and of course we don't know the whole budget and this might change. If it changes, I bet this number is going to go up. It's definitely not going to go down. But you have $2 billion for small nuclear reactors in Darlington, Ontario. You have $450 million over 3 years for a workers' reskilling package. Take that in for a second. $450 million, okay, over 3 years for a workers' reskilling package, less than half of $1 billion. Meanwhile, by March, $9 billion spent in defense. So what does that tell us, and why is that relevant to the whole Venezuela thing? Because a lot of this money is going to be spent on submarines. And our submarines have not been up to any good when it comes to what happens in South America. Okay? And when you have these submarines, like, what, are we going to fight a war with America? No. Okay? And if we were, $9 billion on subs would not cut it. In fact, if we spent every penny we had in our coffers, it would not cut it, because America is basically an army with a country. A lot like Pakistan, but with a more convincing veil of democracy, which is going to get really tested in 2028. So instead of standing up for international law, instead of not helping a country that has been threatening our sovereignty overthrow another country, impeding on their sovereignty or infringing on their sovereignty, Canada is going to once again, it looks like, play a tacit role in helping the American military-industrial complex. Because when you see this money going to defense for Canada and, Canada Strong and all that stuff, please understand it'll be going to places like Lockheed Martin, you know what I mean? Places like Boeing, places that eventually, that ultimately just end up benefiting America. And these places, when you think about it, they make weapons. And if there aren't wars to fight, they're not doing well. So just take that in when you wonder why there's so much conflict in the world. How much money these guys get from our governments while they slash our social services and tell us that it's too expensive, and have honestly convinced half the country, in every country, that things like that are too expensive. They're a splurge. Meanwhile, it is not a splurge to spend literally billions of dollars that we don't have beefing up our military in order for our military to go and help the states. And that's it. And that's facts. That is facts. And they're going to talk about, I saw Pierre Poilievre on the news, this budget's going to create inflation. And brother, inflation is a foregone conclusion because of the world America has created with these fucking tariffs. Nobody knows when to buy something, when to sell something, when to ship something, because the tariffs are just flying up and down. And sure, today it's 45%, and yesterday it was 110%, but maybe tomorrow it'll be 20%. So why do I want to make that? Is what people are thinking before they buy goods and all that stuff. Meanwhile, America is quietly just arresting a huge amount of people for what I believe will become slave labor concentration camps. Okay? I'm just putting two and two together. None of this is for sure, but when you are deporting a bunch of people and you have hard labor jobs that are now not being filled, crops dying on the vine in the field, you're going to have to come up with a way to get those crops picked. And when it comes to things needing to get picked in fields, America has a tried and true recipe. Except now it won't be based on the color of your skin, because they have AI and they can just keep a slave no matter what color you are. That's the world we're headed to. We're asking for affordable housing, affordable groceries, a way to raise our family, clean energy, and all that stuff. And these group of men, probably a few hundred, have just decided, no, I'd rather play Game of Thrones with the entire world. And we're just dealing with it. I don't know what kind of world we're living in. Stay safe out there. Do not cross the border south if you're in Canada, because they're going to need bodies for this field. Mark my words. Bookmark this video. That's exactly what's going to happen. Why is us out there detaining all these people? What are they going to do with them? Why are they holding them in detention and paying for all that stuff? Why don't they just send them somewhere? I'm telling you. They're going to go look at the farmers and say, don't worry about all of the workers that you were hiring illegally. I got you. Here are some prisoners. They already use prison labor. You know what I mean? Go watch Orange is the New Black. They're already stitching your lingerie and stuff in there for pennies on the dollar of what you would pay a person on the outside. So they're already using prison slave labor. They already treat them like animals. And now all that's going to be left is just sending them outside, putting them in chain gangs, and having them work in fields. Sorry to end on such a bitter note, but it's pretty disappointing what Mark Carney is doing. I voted for him, and I mean, I would probably be doing the exact same thing. So do I regret my vote? Yes, but I don't know where I would have cast it. Anyhow, we're going to wrap it up there. Stay tuned for some more videos coming out about ICE detention centers, about Eve Engler running for NDP, about some actual good news coming out of Canada. All that and more. Bread in Captivity, out.